Hey everyone, it's Trina. Welcome back to Life's a Blog. This one's a little raw. It's about what it really feels like to choose yourself when that choice breaks your heart first. A few nights ago, I went to my trailer hoping to catch a Northern Lights. Everyone said they'd be visible that night. I thought maybe the sky will finally give me a show. But the lights never came. Instead, I got the beaver moon. Steady, bright, whole. Maybe that was the show I was supposed to see. Not chaos, not color. Just calm. I ended up going home that night. Was I disappointed? But I did do a video for about an hour and a half on my Insta360. So when I returned home, I downloaded the video. And then I started going through the videos that were on there. And buried between the clips of the lake and the moon was a video that I didn't even remember saving. It was from 2 years ago. From when my ex and I got back together the second time. He was talking, almost performing, about his ex-wife and how she was with someone and he had returned back to me. At the time, I had been drinking a lot, and I just thought he was opening up. But the pieces came together. I see it with just ego, trying to rewrite rejection. Because before that, he'd already tried to go back to her. He wrote a bunch of horrible texts about me and then offered to take her for a coffee while he had a beer. But she didn't take him up on it. Then he called me. So that speech wasn't pain, it was theater. It was control disguised as a confession. And then I realized I'd been there before many times. I was never unworthy. I was just convenient, a placeholder. I was real, and being real is too confronting for someone still rehearsing their wounds instead of healing them. You know, it took me a long time to see the pattern. It started with my parents, learning early that love sometimes meant keeping everyone else happy. Then came my marriage, where I lost myself trying to be who he needed me to be. And later, my ex-boyfriend, another version of the same story. I wasn't addicted to love. I was addicted to being needed. And when I finally broke free, it didn't feel like liberation, it felt like loss. Because your body doesn't celebrate the end of control, it grieves it. It took me months to understand that the shaking, the crying, the anxiety, that was my nervous system adjusting to peace. I never really gave myself a chance. After I left my ex-husband, I hopped into that relationship so very quickly because it was soothing every desire that I needed to cope with the pain. I'll never forget that time in my car on Bolton Street. It was raining. We packed the car. He asked me not to leave, and I had to do it, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. But I stood up for myself. Sadly, I jumped into another relationship where the same thing would happen. 6 years later, even though it wasn't as hard to stand up for myself, the fact of knowing that I had to do it because I loved myself more was what shook me to the core. It was crazy because the night after I came home from the trailer, I opened my inbox to an email from him. Questions, accusation. He said the appliances he took were rent, questioned my CRA filing. And in the moment I felt it, the same old hook of control wrapped up in logic. He found a way to connect with me. But this time, I really didn't buy it. I just stood with the story and I explained myself. how there's benefits available, and that I did offer to give him the same type of appliances he had before I replaced them. And then I ended it with, I have to go to bed. And I don't want to be mean, but I never want to speak to you ever. Ever again. I wish you well, I wish you love, and I hope you live till you're 80. But I'll never be a placeholder ever again. Emotional intelligence is knowing when to stop handling your peace over as evidence. That night I realized something I'd never seen so clearly before. Control doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just sends polite emails and a well wish. We agreed that he would drop off the paint, and he did the next day. And it hit me how poetic it was, trying to patch what was broken, at least on the surface. But you can't paint over emotional damage. You have to rebuild from underneath. I stood there looking at the cans on the patio thinking, this is what closure looks like when it's not cinematic, it's quiet, it's anticlimactic, it's paint cans. But later that day, I sat in my car and cried. Not because I was sad, but because I was free. And then I posted a video on TikTok explaining how choosing yourself after years of emotional attachment doesn't feel strong at first. It feels like you're breaking. Because it does. It feels like you're shedding your identity in real time. It feels like missing what was toxic because it was familiar. It feels like breathing again after you forgot how to. And this is where it gets interesting. Even the journey that I'm on, the breakup, the silence, the healing, he still checks my website every night. Just like the last time we broke up, when he had other people watching my stories for him. In his text to his ex-wife when we broke up, that time he said, keep following her, keep watching her, it drives her crazy. Only now I don't feel anger. I actually feel curiosity. I ask, why watch? Why care? When you're supposedly immersed in love and safety. Then I noticed a familiar name today, a cousin from the past. His ex's side of the family, or his side of the family. Hi, Kim. 6 years later, and you're checking my TikToks to see if I'm sharing any stories that I'm going over to see him. And I just laughed and shook my head, and I thought, I'm so happy to be away from that toxicity. What used to unnerve me, the feeling of being watched, analyzed, monitored, now it reminds me of how much I've grown. I don't react anymore. I just say a silent hi to the toxicity and keep living my life. It's not easy, but it's easier than living in a world where you don't know whether you're loved or just a placeholder for someone else. That's the quiet reward of emotional intelligence. Realizing you don't have to match someone's chaos to prove your peace. Today I saw a post that made me smile through tears. It said, congratulations, that was your last narcissist. Your discernment certification is now complete. And honestly, that's what this season feels like. Every boundary, every silence, every tear, a credit earned in self-respect. Now, I'm not a psychologist, so I can't say whether my ex or my ex-partner was a narcissist or not, but I certainly earned my discernment certification. And I think about that night I went down the trailer and the moon showed up, steady, bright, and whole. Just like healing does when you stop chasing the lights that were never meant for you. Maybe I didn't get the northern lights. Maybe I got something better. I got clarity, peace. I got me. If you're listening right now and you're in that space for choosing yourself, feels like you're breaking, remember, you're not breaking. You're not broken. You're breaking free. And this is Life's the Blog. And I'm Trina Stewart. And tonight I'm not chasing light. I'm standing in it. And we've got our first snow. Tune in next week. I'm hoping that as I move forward, I don't have these aha moments or these breakdowns I gotta share with you and reiterate stories of toxicity and control. You know, it's in the bad times and the chaos when we learn the greatest lessons in life. The good times is for the memories. Take care of yourself. Till next time.